Revenge films.
My husband is cheating on me. I originally married my husband because I deeply loved him, but after we got married, his parents came into the picture and that didn't help our marriage. When I was pregnant with our child, my mother-in-law insisted on living with us at our place for a whole year. And because of that, I couldn't go back to my hometown like I had originally planned to in order to give birth. I had told my husband, since this is my first birth I'm going through, we agreed that I'd give birth in my hometown with my family there to support me. But to that, all my husband said was,
"But my mom's here now, so you don't have to do that. Just give birth here,"
is all he said. Obviously, this didn't seem to affect him as it did me. After all, I was the one giving birth, and it wasn't my mom that was home with me to help me do so. Not only that, but I knew that my mother-in-law didn't like me. Whenever I made food, and she'd always say things like, "How dare you put food that tastes like this on the table? We make the food so it tastes better. You can't be feeding my son this crap." And would continue to scrap all the food I made into the trash and, "What's wrong with the way you wash our clothes? Everything smells weird. Wash your clothes again." Like this, she'd always had something to complain about. And then when I do the washing again, my husband would come by and ask,
"Where's my shirt? I need it for work. You haven't done the washing yet, honey?"
His mom would hear this, and instead of telling him the truth that she made me do the washing again, she said, "Your wife is being lazy and not doing enough of the chores. She's making excuses not to do anything on account of being pregnant." Instead of trying to make things better, she escalated them further. Being pregnant for the first time was hard enough, but having a mother-in-law staying with us made things so much harder. But I was able to get through the pregnancy and safely give birth to my own daughter. Soon after, though, my mother-in-law made it her duty to look after my daughter herself. She wanted to have full control over my daughter. "You're so cute." When she'd cry at night, my mother-in-law would tell me that I wasn't doing my part to look after her properly, so she'd feed my daughter and put her to sleep. But as soon as I did that, my mother-in-law would pick up my daughter out of bed, waking her up. Then obviously she'd start crying again. And to that, my mother-in-law would say, "It's all your fault that she wasn't sleeping soundly enough. Are you sure you fed her properly?" Like this, she'd belittle me about everything I did for my daughter. Even though he knew his mom was acting this way towards me, he did nothing. So obviously, I soon started to lose feelings for him. He also started not to come home at some nights. Because our apartment was quite small and having his mom over made it feel even smaller. 6 months after I'd given birth, my mother-in-law was told by her friends that her husband might be cheating on her. So to figure things out with her husband, she went running back home in an instant. Honestly, I thought karma had finally gotten to her. I thought this had happened to her because she got been ignoring her husband and spending all her time over at our place belittling me every chance she got. But unfortunately for me, it was the other way around this time. And I also became aware that my husband had been cheating on me too. One day my husband was on the phone smiling and then the doorbell rang and he went over to answer it. A delivery person had come to drop off some parcels. It was at this time I saw the text at my husband's phone. The conversation that was open on his phone was between him and another woman he was cheating on me with. And they were going about how much they were in love with each other. After that, I decided to hire a private investigator to get to the bottom of this. And as soon as I found out that my husband was indeed definitely seeing another woman, then soon after, the woman came barging into our apartment. She came in and said that she was pregnant with my husband's child, and that she wanted me to get divorced with him. Honestly, at this point, I didn't have any more feelings towards my husband, but it was also bugging me that I was being told to divorce my husband. So it was making me not want to agree to doing so. After that, even my husband came to me asking to get a divorce. But again, it was annoying me that by saying yes, I'd be giving in, so I said no. After that, I left my baby with my parents and went to go look for a lawyer to help me figure out everything that was going on. Luckily for me, I was able to find a really good lawyer. I thought things were finally going to be my way. But that's when the woman my husband had been seeing, her parents, and her lawyer came to my place again, unannounced. Obviously, they were here to get me to sign the divorce papers. "Please, divorce your husband so my daughter can marry him so he doesn't have to give birth as a single mother." Her mom begged me to get a divorce, but the woman in question didn't seem like she was willing to apologize for what she'd done, or ask me kindly to get a divorce. So I just handed my lawyer a business card and said, "I'm sorry, but please contact my lawyer about this matter." I guess they didn't think that I'd have my own lawyer ready too, so they looked shocked. That night, I was able to make them all leave my place. and the next day I visited my lawyer again. I'd like to not have to make a decision about the divorce papers for as long as possible.
I understand. If you keep saying that you don't want to sign the papers, then they cannot force you to get divorced until they're able to prove that 3 years of bad marriage has gone by. For the time being, it'll be best if you can make sure your husband sleeps at home at night. Also, keep track of the nights your husband stays at home. And make sure to write the dates down in a notebook. And if you can, try to keep in contact with him over text as well. That way, it'll be easier to prove in court that your relationship hasn't soured. I can only advise you on what to do. You'll have to be the one to actually take action. I hope you'll do your best.
I understand, but I'll do my best.
If anything changes, then please let me know.
Honestly, I didn't have any intentions of getting back with my husband for good, nor did I want him to love me again. But I wanted to get back at him for the way he treated me and our daughter. I couldn't forgive him for having left me at home with his mom that was cruel to me, while he was enjoying his time seeing another woman. After that, it seemed as though the woman he had been seeing must have said something to him, because my husband would spend most nights at our place profusely apologizing for me over and over again, and begging me even stronger than before to divorce him.
Please, just sign the divorce papers! She's going crazy because you won't. She really wants us to be an official married couple before she gives birth. Please!
But it's not like that had anything to do with me or was my responsibility. Sorry, but you're going to have to talk to my lawyer about that. You can be the one to try and speed up the divorce process, but if you do so, you should keep in mind that the damages you'll have to pay me and the damages the woman you've been seeing will have to pay me will increase. To that my husband said to me,
Are you the devil or something?
all I could think about was how the other woman was so self-centered. She was just fine with cheating on my husband, yet when he wouldn't divorce me in order to be with her, she started to throw a hissy fit. There is no way that I'm going to be made out solely to be the bad one in this situation. After all, my husband and the woman he was seeing did so much worse to me. If my husband wanted to solely be with the other woman from the beginning, then he should have divorced me before getting together with her. Because the woman he'd been seeing wasn't happy and he wouldn't get divorced from me quicker, he'd sometimes end up sleeping at our place just to get some space from her. I wasn't particularly happy about him being home, but I knew that this was good for my case, so I decided to let him stay and kept a tab on him for when he did. I thought it was a little strange that the other woman's lawyer hadn't advised my husband not to spend the night at our place, but it wasn't my place to worry about such things. Time went by and our situation didn't change. So the other woman ended up giving birth without us getting divorced. Apparently, she kept on telling my husband to get divorced until just before she had given birth. But because it wasn't possible for her to get me to sign the papers, she ended up breaking up with him shortly after giving birth. After that, it seemed as though my husband had gotten worse over this infatuation with the other woman and had started to feel lonely, so he started asking me to get back with him.
I'm really sorry for everything that I've done. I've finally been able to see what I did was not okay at all. Please, give us another chance!
To that, all I could do was laugh hysterically. You're kidding me, right? There's no way we could ever get back from being a happy married couple that we once were.
But weren't you not signing the divorce papers all this time? Because in the end you wanted us to get back together like this?
It's true that I was waiting for something, but what I was truly waiting for was for you to be broken up with the other woman and left all alone. With that, his face went pale. Now I'm happy to announce that we'll finally be able to get divorced, and I'm glad I'm finally able to sign the papers now.
Are you serious?
Of course. After all, you wanted to get divorced all this time, right? And we finally get to do so. You should be happy about this.
No! You don't have to do such a thing anymore. We can be together now, like we used to be.
I already told you, I don't want to get back to how things were. All this time, all I ever wanted to do was see you left alone, all by yourself. I'll be signing the divorce papers. So, make sure you have the damages you have to pay me ready, okay? Everything will be taken care of through my lawyer. My husband couldn't believe what had just happened, and all he could do was just stand there in shock. But I had fulfilled what I had always wanted to do so. So, with that, I packed my things and left for my parents' house. After getting back home, I made sure to let the other woman know that we were finally getting divorced and that she'd be needing to pay me for damages she'd caused. After a little while, my husband came to see me at my parents' house, saying I should still be with him, and that I don't know what's best for our child. But to that, my dad told him off and firmly made him leave straight away.
Get it through your thick skull, okay? My daughter doesn't want anything to do with you anymore. She doesn't want to get back with you, ever. Just hurry up and sign the divorce papers, or else we'll have to take this to court. No! I don't want to have to go to court. Then hurry up and sign the papers already. Yes, sir!
With that, my husband confirmed to us that he'd be signing the papers and would also be paying me for the damages he caused. The other woman still wasn't convinced that she had to pay me.
Why do I have to pay you for damages anyway? After all, your husband and I aren't even together anymore.
But she wasn't getting away with not paying me anything, so I said to her, if you don't want to pay up, then I'll have to take the necessary measures in order to get you to do so. To that, the woman's parents started to freak out, thinking about what the neighbors would think of them if they took it to court over this.
You should just hurry up and pay the woman the money she wants. Or else, what will those around us think of us? Just hurry up and pay her!
Why does it matter to anyone else, though? Besides, I can't pay that much money. I don't have anywhere near that much money.
If you're not gonna pay the woman, then leave this house right now and with your baby, and never set foot here ever again!
She was told to pay up by her parents, and she must have thought that in the end that was the right thing to do. So she quickly went about selling all of her expensive things my husband got to her as presents, and ended up paying me the money she got.
Please, accept this money. I know it's not all that I owe you, but I'll pay the rest as soon enough. So please, don't take this to court.
She pleaded me together with her parents. Thanks to her finally paying me part of the damages she owed, I was able to soon find my own place to live with my daughter peacefully. Apparently, after everything, my ex-mother-in-law was told by her husband,
It's all your fault that you left me like that and spent time with our son!
And with that, he left her for the other woman he had been seeing. So with that, she was left to live the rest of her life alone. I still think it was truly karma that her husband ended up leaving her because she was too busy belittling me.
My name is Seiko. I live together with my husband Norio and daughter Kanami under the same roof. My husband always had difficulty keeping his job, so I work full-time and provide for my family. Balancing work and household chores, I lead a busy life every day. I had a particular problem. It was a problem related to my daughter. My husband has been spoiling our daughter since the age of 2. The reason is that Kanami is very cute. Kanami doesn't know it yet, but the truth is that I'm not her birth mother. Her birth mother actually passed away 14 years ago. 14 years ago, my husband brought a newborn baby into our house. Norio and I were 3 years into our marriage, but he was having an affair. Not long after, he got her pregnant, and she eventually gave birth to a baby girl. The woman had a chronic disease that worsened, and she passed away after giving birth to Kanami. My husband told me to raise his daughter, who I didn't give birth to. He even had the guts to tell me that I should be thankful for his lover for giving birth to her. Just like that, he forced me to help him raise his daughter. At first, I thought of filing for divorce, what with his unforgivable affair and menacing attitude, but the baby is sinless and is not responsible for her real parents' actions. So there was no way I was going to abandon the baby. That's why I decided to raise Kanami like my own daughter. My husband took advantage of my conscience and threatened me. He warned me again and again that if I don't want to hurt Kanami, I shouldn't tell her the truth about her birth mother. I kept telling myself that the child has no sin while doing my best to raise her. However, my husband was dissatisfied with me and kept on complaining. Whenever I scolded Kanami for something she did, my husband flew to her rescue as if he was some sort of superhero. A superhero who gives the worst advice in the history of the superhero world, though.
She is the devil from the underworld. You don't have to listen to anything she says.
As a result, Kanami became completely brainwashed by my husband. Now that Kanami has hit puberty and is now adolescent, she's become violent towards me as if she's trying to get rid of her grief through me. How was school today, Kanami? You're home late. Did you have fun with your friends? I made your favorite dish for dinner. Have it before it gets cold. Huh? I don't need your tasteless cooking. But you need to eat something. It's unhealthy to skip dinner, you know. Shut up! I told you I don't need it! Every time Kanami gets irritated, she slaps me in the face, pulls my hair, and does all sorts of physical abuse. Please stop it, Kanami! Shut up! Stop whining! It hurts! I mean, I'm going to hang out with my friends, so give me money. How much do you need? $100. I only have 50 in my wallet right now. What? Unbelievable. Let me see your wallet.
What's the problem, Konami?
Dad, I want to go hang out with my friends tomorrow, but this woman won't give me $100.
My God, you really are the worst mother.
Really annoying. You're the worst. I really don't have that much money with me right now. Is 50 not enough? Not possible. There's no way I'm hanging out with my friends with only $50. Withdraw money tomorrow morning and send it to me at school.
You're a mother, so you're supposed to do at least that much,
I have work tomorrow, so I can't skip it to go to your school. You've gotta be kidding. Stop messing with me. Then with a force unexpected from her thin arm, she pulled my hair and punched my stomach so strong that I don't know what hit me. Please, stop it, Konami. You're a useless mother. She took the $50 from my wallet and marched straight to her room. My husband never rescued me from the physical abuse, not even once. Instead, since he constantly moved from one job to another, he was always irritated every time he came home from his work, so he vents his anger upon me. Working full-time to support my family and doing the chores when I come home from work, I was living like a slave. My life was a living hell. Then one day, when I welcomed my daughter home from school, she demanded money from me like always. But since Konami treated me like an ATM that spits out money whenever she wished, my wallet was already empty, not a cent in my wallet. I don't have any money anymore. What happened to the $50 I gave you yesterday? Of course I already used that up. Do you really not have any money anymore? Show me your wallet. Hey, wait a second. What? It really is empty. Not a cent inside. I told you, didn't I? I'm going to hang out with my friends tomorrow. What should I do? Do something about this. Even if you tell me that, there's nothing I can do about it. You're my mother, right? Hurry up and give me money. She shouted and strongly kicked me to the floor. I kept on telling her again and again that I don't have money. Konami took the vase sitting on top of the shoe closet. What are you trying to do? I don't need a mother who won't give me money. You're useless. Take that! The vase hit my head hard and I fell to the floor. I lost consciousness, and when I woke up, I was already on top of the hospital bed. First person I saw was my mother, who was sitting beside my bed, a worried expression on her face. Mom? Seiko, you're awake. You recognize me, thank goodness. Relieved that I woke up from the concussion, tears started flowing down her cheeks from all the tension built up. After gaining consciousness, I asked what in the world happened. I was told that my husband called for an emergency, explaining that I fell down the stairs. I'm certain the reason why he called my mother is because he needed to get rid of the evidence. I'm sure my husband is desperately disposing of the vase and wiping off the blood on the floor right now. When I thought of the scene in my head, I've had enough of being treated like a slave and living like this. I've been keeping it a secret from my mother that my daughter, hence her granddaughter, is not actually my birth daughter. However, lying on that hospital bed, I decided to tell the truth to my mother. After telling her the truth about my real relationship with Konami, I then disclosed to my mother the truth about the incident that brought me to the hospital. I told her that my daughter hurled the vase at me and I fell to the floor. I didn't actually fall down the stairs. Upon hearing those words coming from my lips, my mother turned pale and was lost for words. After being speechless for a while, she reached into her pocket and took out her phone. My mother then started dialing and called someone. Listening to the content of the call, I realized that she was calling the cops. After that, she and I had a long heart-to-heart, mother-daughter talk. We also talked about our plans to take revenge. We finished our preparations before leaving the hospital. Finally, the day to put the plan into action. On the day of discharge, my mother and I decided to take separate actions. My husband and daughter didn't show up while I was an inpatient. As expected, they didn't show up on the day of my discharge from the hospital as well. Of course, they didn't even contact me at all, not even once. So that was the first time I talked to Norio and Konami after the incident. I finished my last checkup at the hospital and went home by myself in the evening. When I arrived home, my husband and daughter were sitting on the sofa in the living room.
So you were discharged from the hospital? You should have at least called that you were coming home today.
Falling from the stairs is so stupid. Who fell from the stairs? How could you so confidently lie to my face like that? It's the truth anyway.
You know what'll happen if you say unnecessary things. I will file a divorce. A divorce!
With that in mind, I already have the official divorce registration papers ready. Could you sign on this, please?
What? Seriously? Do you have any idea what will happen if we get divorced? I won't be able to live in this house!
I don't care. I'm fine with that. Let's just get divorced and get this over with.
If you want to get divorced, then pay the $20,000 for child support. I'll cut you some slack. It's only $20,000 for now.
Pay for child support? Why do I have to pay for that?
You're my mother, aren't you? Of course it's your duty to pay for child support.
I am not your mother.
Hey, did you forget your promise?
I decided to tell the truth, bracing myself for a divorce. Konami, you're the daughter of your father and his lover whom he had an affair with. That's why it's not my obligation to pay child support for you.
A lover? A love affair? Dad, is that true? She's just talking nonsense, right?
That's nonsense. She's just lying because she doesn't want to pay for child support. Psycho, Konami is your daughter.
Thinking that this day might come, I secretly took a DNA test and brought it with me. After showing them the DNA test result,
Unbelievable! I hope this is just a nightmare. I want to wake up! No, I don't want to live with my father who keeps on changing jobs. How do you expect me to live with him? I'll never allow you to get a divorce.
the divorce is already finalized, and I won't be paying for child support. Also, I already filed a report for the physical abuse that you've done to me. You should atone for that sin that you've committed.
You reported me?
What in the world have you done?
Do you have any idea what will happen to you if they find out that you helped in destroying the evidence? Both of you will become criminals, you know.
But...
While Norio and Konami were slumped with disheartened expressions on their face, my mother arrived together with the cops.
You're Konami, correct? I need to talk to you, so please come with me to the police station.
No, I don't want to. What will happen to me if I do?
I didn't do anything. It's all Konami's doing.
Shut up! You've got to be kidding me, you stupid old man.
Stop fighting and just follow us.
After that, the police investigated the crime scene. Not long after, it was revealed that Konami hurled a vase at me and that my husband tried to get rid of the evidence. Konami was taken to a reform school, and a few weeks later I received a letter from her that seemed like a letter of apology and regret. I have no plans of going back to living with them. Since I've been working full-time, I didn't have financial problems at all after the divorce. The alimony I demanded certainly helped my finances, since I received a large sum of money. I instead feel like I'll be able to live doing what I enjoyed and wanted. As for the alimony and medical expenses, Norio borrowed money and paid it all in one lump sum. Because of that reason, I'm sure he and Konami will be living a difficult life filled with debt from now on.
One day, I suddenly got a phone call from one of my fellow mom friends. Her name was Karen, and I wasn't that close to her. We were in the same group of mom friends that would sometimes speak to each other at the gatherings. We were also in the same group chat, so of course we had seen each other's contact information, but it was the first time she was reaching out to me directly.
Your daughter Ashley and my son Kevin are saying they want to go to the river together soon, but I'm a little scared to go alone. Would you be able to come? If your husband is free, he can join us too.
What? Our kids? My daughter Ashley and Karen's son Kevin were friends in preschool who often played together.
What do you think? If yes, then I'll pack a lunch for everybody. Of course, with freezer packs since it's going to be hot outside.
That's okay. It's way too much for you to prepare everyone's lunch alone. So I will also bring some things so we can all share. That weekend, I brought my husband and my daughter to the river to hang out with the single mom Karen and her son Kevin.
Mommy, the river water feels so good.
Stay in the shallow areas, okay, honey?
Yes, Mommy.
I had my eyes on the children in the river. When I turned around for a moment, for some reason, Karen was all over my husband, shamelessly showing off her bikini. Do you really need to touch him that much? I thought today was supposed to be about the kids, but why is she in such a festive bikini? There are a lot of things I wanted to say, but I wanted the kids to enjoy themselves, and I didn't want to ruin the mood, so I kept it inside for now. However, in the days following the river trip, my husband's behavior seemed funny. He was latched onto his phone at all times, even when going to the shower or the bathroom, a classic sign of an affair. On top of that, he also placed a lock on it. No way, I thought, but half of me had already figured out that he must be cheating on me with Karen. Plus, ever since that day, Karen would find any excuse to see my husband.
Last weekend, I wanted to change the layout of my house, so I actually asked your husband to come help me. Thanks for letting me borrow him.
She would say things like that, or,
Here, I brought this for you guys. Your husband said he liked fish and chips, so I made some at home.
As it turns out, that day the two of them had exchanged personal contact information. If she needed anything, she already had my phone number, so that should have been enough. And it only makes me more confident that something was going on. When I confronted my husband about it, his face went pale, but he tried to deny anything fishy.
Oh, we just happened to run into each other the other day. It was nothing.
He would desperately try to brush it under the rug, while Karen was very happy to brag about every meeting with my husband. And I knew for sure that there was something between the two of them. Instead of trying to get anything out of my husband, I thought it would be faster to go straight to Karen, but she surprisingly got to me first.
Melissa, there's something I really need to talk to you about.
I got a call from Karen, whose voice sounded giddy and excited, as though she had won a contest. What is it?
To tell you the truth, your husband and I have fallen in love, and now we're dating.
So what you're trying to say is you're having an affair?
Well, he still hasn't divorced you, so I guess that's what we have to call it.
You know, I wanted to ask you about this too, but the fact that you're telling me about it must mean that you're fully prepared to pay me the settlement fees, correct? Since you two are committing adultery.
Oh, well, yes. I mean, settlement fee or whatever. He's willing to pay anything it takes for me. And so he's just so obsessed with my body that he always wants it, you know? I guess he can't be satisfied by a stick like you.
Were you after my husband since the beginning?
Actually, yes. How'd you know? Because your husband is a very rich and the CEO of a company, right? Thanks to him, I heard that your family has been living a very comfortable life. But it does look like that won't be the case anymore. I'm so sorry.
You know that my Ashley and your Kevin are good friends, right? You've got some nerve to go after your son's friend's father like that. Makes me want to question your morals as a human.
Oh, but this will be great for my son. Plus now, my son and I get to take you in Ashley's place, and we're going to become celebrities.
Is that so? That's fine. Then I'll speak to my husband, and I will be sure to move forward with a divorce on your end.
You and him will be both responsible for paying the settlement fee. Sure, happy to pay whatever. It would only be right to give poor little you some money so that you could survive in your pleasant life.
Karen was laughing on the other end of the line, but when I cornered my husband with the divorce papers, he started crying.
Oh, I'm sorry! I messed up! I apologize! Please forgive me!
He said, looking pathetic as ever. You bastard, you have an affair with your daughter's friend's mother. Do you have any integrity whatsoever? And more than anything, I can never forgive you for cheating on me. So that's it. We're getting a divorce. When I stood my ground, my husband looked defeated. We finalized the divorce papers from there, and I kicked my husband out. As soon as my husband was out of the house, I had already planned on informing his parents about what happened, and they apologized over and over again on the phone, but I had no intention of forgiving him. After that, with nowhere to go, my ex-husband apparently tried to take refuge in his parents' house, but since they already knew what happened, they were furious about it. He was kicked out of their house as well. I had expected all of this already, and I knew he was left with only one place to go. Then a few days later, Karen came flying over to talk to me.
So, it looks like you and your husband got divorced. He came running right to my house. Oh, how cute.
Yes, I assumed that he would.
I do feel a little bit bad for you, but now your husband is mine, along with his annual salary of $4 million.
And I'm so grateful for you taking him, since I don't need a cheating piece of crap husband like that.
Aw, you don't need to act so tough. It's okay. Yeah.
Well, let me just say one thing. You seem to think that his annual salary is $4 million, but you do know that it's not even $40, right?
Huh? What are you saying? Oh, I know. You were dumped by him, so now you're trying to get back at me, right?
Nope. You're right that my salary is around that much, but my ex-husband is unemployed now. So I think his annual salary is close to zero as you can get.
What do you mean he's unemployed? He has his own company because he's the CEO.
I think that the company you're thinking of is my company. I started it when I was in college and grew it with my own two hands. True, he used to be an employee and I gave him a director title, but to be honest, I didn't give him any real responsibilities and he was pretty useless.
Wait a minute! Like he was wearing an expensive suit every day and going to the office.
Well, of course he was going to the office. But that suit and watch and those shoes were all bought with my salary. And my husband's salary was honestly probably less than average salary man. But since I was the CEO, he didn't have to worry about money, so he didn't seem to care that much about it.
Well, what about the house then?
Mine, of course. When my company started doing well, I bought it for myself as a reward.
You're lying! How was this possible? So that means that
He's not the CEO or celebrity or anything. He's just an unemployed, cheating bastard.
Oh, and by the way, I'm sure you probably have forgotten, but you and my husband committed adultery.
And I've hired a lawyer to make sure you both pay a settlement fee for it. I hope you're looking forward to that.
This can't be real! You're lying!
After that, I did exactly as I said and sued Kieran and my ex-husband. I had to think about little Kevin, though, who is Ashley's friend, so I didn't want to make them homeless. But I made sure that the both of them would have to pay in installments every single month. My ex-husband tried to blame it all on Karen.
It's because you tried to seduce me that I've lost everything! This is all your fault!
But of course, Karen did the same.
You're the one that lied saying you were the CEO and deceived me! You should be the one paying!
The two were fighting, but in the meantime, the other moms as well as the rest of the town found out about the entire situation. In the end, she had to withdraw from the preschool and move out of town. Not surprisingly, Karen and my ex-husband broke up after that, and she had to move back to her parents' house. I heard that in the morning she was delivering newspapers, working part-time jobs in the afternoon at a gas station, and working in a bar as a hostess at night, without any real time to rest in order to pay back the settlement fee. As for my ex-husband, he had never had a real job before, so even when he did try to find a place that employed him, he wasn't able to keep up and would get fired shortly after. But it's up to him to figure out how he's going to pay the settlement fee himself. On the other hand, my parents are helping me with Ashley, and I'm still working hard every day. I was heartbroken for Ashley to lose her father, and to make her sad. But my parents had been spoiling her, and she seems happy to be with Grandma and Grandpa all the time. Even though Ashley may not grow up with a father, I have sworn to shower her with twice the love and give her the best life that she deserves. I'm going to be the hardest working single mom to make that happen. My husband and I were both working, and a few days earlier, I had gone away on a business trip. In the beginning, I was told that it would take about 1 week until we could finalize the contract, but we were able to secure the deal faster than expected, and I was able to head home on an earlier train. My husband's birthday was right in the middle of my business trip, and since we didn't have any children yet, I made a big deal of our birthdays. I was excited to surprise him and come home early to celebrate his birthday. When I got off the train, I went straight to the bakery to buy a cake, and I picked up a nice bottle of wine before heading home. Will he be surprised? The more I thought about it, the more I couldn't help but smile. But little did I know that when I got home, my world would come crashing down. When I got home and tried to unlock the door, I found that the front door was already opened. That's weird. As I opened the door and went inside the house, I saw a woman's shoes that I had never seen before. Do we have a guest over? I went to look in the living room first, and there I found wine and appetizers, as well as half-eaten birthday cake and other homemade food. What is this? Right as I was trying to figure it out, I heard a voice inside the house. I turned to the voice and went slowly towards it, and I realized that it was coming from the bathroom. The door was closed, and when I put my ear against it and listened close, it was obvious that they were right in the middle of an act, and the woman's distasteful sounds were echoing in the shower. Then I realized that I had heard that voice before, and as soon as I heard my husband's voice, I lost it. As the anger was boiling inside me, I went to the area just outside the shower and slowly opened the door, extending my arm out to put their clothes out. Then I closed the door again and moved a large pole to block the door so that it couldn't be opened. As the two of them were fully enjoying themselves inside, I'm sure they had no idea of what I was up to outside. I took deep breaths as it took everything in me to remain calm and not explode, and made a few phone calls to certain people to come over. The first one was to my in-laws by showing them the scene of the crime in real time. It would put me in a better position for the future conversations. The other phone call was to my colleague and the fiancé of the woman who was enjoying my husband in the bathroom, Thomas. Luckily, I was able to get a hold of both groups immediately, and it didn't take long for me to explain the situation to them and having them head over. My in-laws were in shock to hearing what I was saying. You're joking, right? Are you serious? It sounded like they didn't believe me at all, so I needed them to see for themselves. I'm very sorry to tell you that this isn't a joke. I have the scene under lock right now, so the two of them won't be able to escape. Would you please be able to come here and see? My father-in-law quickly responded.
All right, we'll be right there.
When I called my colleagues, Thomas,
Karen is?
he was surprised, but the more we talked, she said that recently she had been acting suspicious, but he didn't have any proof and didn't know who the other person might be.
Can't believe it was your husband, though.
Thomas, Karen, and I worked at the same company, and my husband worked at a company that was one of our partners. That's why he knows both Thomas and Karen. As I was gathering the troops, I heard the bathroom door shaking, and from the inside,
Hey, the door isn't opening. What's going on?
What do you mean? You're right. It won't open.
I could hear the two of them inside struggling with the door. That's when I chimed in. I have it locked and blocked with a pole, so you should probably stop trying. I could hear them gasp on the other side.
Karen? What are you doing here? I thought you were on a business trip.
Yes, I was, but we were wrapped up in the contract sooner than expected, so was going to surprise you with a cake and your favorite bottle of wine. Never could have imagined that I would be welcomed home by your affair.
This is all a misunderstanding. It's just that our clothes got a little dirty and...
What kind of an excuse is that?
Miss Ashley, it's not what you think. We just got a little carried away or something, that's all.
Interesting, just got carried away, huh? You really think everyone is going to buy that?
Huh? What do you mean, everyone?
What are you talking about?
Well, I didn't think that I would be able to handle the situation all by myself, so your parents and Thomas are on their way now.
Stop with such cruel jokes.
That's right.
As the two are panicking on the other side of the doorbell rang in perfect timing. Oh, looks like they've arrived.
Stop! You're kidding, right?
It's just a joke that you called my parents, right?
I let the two of them out right at the moment, and they came face to face with my in-laws and Thomas.
My clothes! Give me my clothes!
Right? Where are my clothes?
Wow, looks like you lost in the moment and you forgot where you left your clothes, huh? By the way, your clothes are right there by your feet. The two of them quickly got dressed when they finally showed their faces in the living room.
What do you mean, a joke? I wish this was a joke. Aiming for the time when Ashley was away for work to have an affair. You scumbag!
Cheaters, I hate them more than anything in the world. The in-laws immediately fired at my Chad. As for the colleague Chad, his eyes were completely iced over.
I already had a feeling that you were cheating on me, but I can't believe you were the mistress to a married man and your senior colleague's husband? You're the worst, truly.
Hey, wait a minute, Thomas. I was sad and lonely. Please, forgive me.
Forgive you? You must be kidding. I'm breaking off the engagement immediately. We already booked the venue, so I will be collecting the cancellation fees and all additional costs of damage from you in full.
Wait, Thomas, I'm sorry. Please, forgive me. I was just having a little fun.
You were just having a little fun. You went after your senior colleague's husband. Even though she's always looking out for you at work, you're trash. Absolute trash. Do you have any idea how many times Ashley has covered for your mistakes? And this is how you thank her for it?
Thomas then turned around to me and hung his head low.
I'm truly so sorry about this. On my end, I'll explain everything to my parents as well as hers. And I'm sure they'll all agree to breaking off the engagement.
My husband was dumbfounded, and Karen kept calling out to Thomas's name, and she started crying. Although I honestly couldn't care less. Karen later was running back to Thomas and begged him to reconsider, but of course Thomas refused and moved forward to canceling the wedding and breaking off the engagement. Of course, Karen had to pay for the venue, as well as other damages caused by this. But it turns out that Karen's parents had built a 2-story house for her and Thomas to move into when they got married. That is, of course, with the understanding of Thomas's salary as the base. That as well went down the drain, and Karen's parents were furious.
A piece of crap like you isn't our daughter. You're nothing to us. Don't you dare show your face in front of us ever again. I don't care if you have to go into debt. You better pay everything yourself.
And they disowned her. News of the incident spread like wildfire around our company, too.
Did you hear? She was engaged to Thomas, but she went behind her senior colleague's back and slept with her husband.
I can't believe it. After all that Ashley has done for her, how shameless can one be? Everywhere she went, people were talking about it, and within 1 month, she resigned from the company. My husband and I, of course, got a divorce. There was no way that I could continue living in an apartment that he was screwing around with Karen in, so I sued them for everything, including that. My father-in-law was furious too, but my mother-in-law was especially against cheating and was even more livid, and Chad was also disowned by his parents. After that, since my husband was working at a partner company and we worked very closely with them, everyone in the company found out that the reason for the divorce was because he had an affair with a young girl at our company, and his bosses were not happy. I later heard that he didn't last another 6 months at the company and ended up resigning. Karen had to go into so much debt in order to pay off all the settlements that she had to go into the dark nightlife to make ends meet, working both day and night jobs. My husband gained a reputation for his affair and wasn't able to find another job easily. When I heard that he moved into a tiny crap apartment and there's barely getting by, I don't feel bad for either of them, not at all. After walking into my husband having an affair in broad daylight on his birthday with my junior colleague, none of the less, but my colleague Thomas was kind enough to think that as the married woman, it would have affected me harder, and he was really supportive.
Let's go for a drink.
He would invite me, or
Should we go get some food?
and he would buy me lunch. He was always trying to make me smile, and it really helped me keep me from feeling too depressed about it. As for Thomas, he had suspected for a while that something was going on, so he wasn't hurt by the end, and was actually trying to find out who his fiancée was cheating on him with. 1 year later, Thomas and I went from being colleagues to a couple. Everyone around us knew that we were both victims in an affair.
Looks like the sparks were flying when you were trying to put the fire out.
They would tease us for, but they were also happy for us. It started because we were laughing about being teased, and Thomas said,
Well then, you might as well go out already.
and that was when we made things official. But by that time, I had already fallen for him. And Thomas also didn't know how to tell me how he felt, and I later found out that he told his colleagues how lame his proposal was. I never could have imagined that the two of us who were cheated on would eventually end up together. But no matter how we got here, I think I finally found the right one. My name is Heather Smith. I'm 27 years old and currently 9 months pregnant. I've been visibly impaired since I was born, and I pretty much can't see at all. However, in my daily life, I'm able to do almost everything by myself. These days, technology has really progressed, and there is a software for visually impaired to become programmers. I am one of those people who uses that software, and that's how I work as a programmer. I got a job at an IT company, which is where I met my husband, Steven. 2 years later, we got married.
Hey, Heather. Just let me know when you're going to stand up. It's dangerous.
I told you I'm fine. I can at least stand up on my own. I'm more worried about you. Are you sure the company is okay with you being with me all the time? Steven had discussed with the company so that he could work from home to support me. He really makes an effort to do what he can for me, and I'm truly grateful for him. One day, as we were all heading towards our scheduled exams for the baby, Steven received a phone call.
Okay, sure. I'll be right there. I'm sorry, Heather. Looks like there was an emergency issue at work, and I need to go.
That's fine. Go ahead. I can go to the hospital by myself.
All right. Be careful on your way there, okay?
Plus, my mom is meeting me there anyway. Steven ran out the door, so I grabbed my white cane and headed towards the hospital for my appointment alone. The hospital was about a 15-minute walk from my house, or 5 minutes if you speed in a car. And I was also born at this hospital. My mom would always find an excuse to come with me, and I'm always grateful for her too. That day, however, an unthinkable incident happened. As I was heading towards the hospital and walking down a street with heavy traffic, I hit something in front of me with my white cane. There's something here. It seemed like there was a bicycle parked right along the path that I was supposed to walk. I didn't know what it was, but I was carefully using my cane against it to try to walk past without getting hurt. However, I was unable to get around it, and I ended up knocking into the bicycle and it fell over.
Hey, old lady, what do you think you're doing? That's our bicycle.
I'm very sorry. I didn't think there would be a bicycle in a place like this.
Huh? What are you trying to say? That we did something wrong? You're the one that was hitting it with your stick and then knocked it over.
Are you trying to start a fight with us? Because that's what it seems like. You got something to say?
They're the ones who had parked their bicycles in the middle of the sidewalk and yet showed no regrets. But instead, they accused me of purposely knocking over their bicycle. If you park your bicycle in a place like this, it's in the way of everybody trying to walk by.
It's obviously not in the way. It's just because you're fat that you can't get through.
That's right, and being fat is your own fault, isn't it?
I was shocked at what they were saying, but as a visually impaired person, there wasn't much I could do. In order to calm the situation down, I thought I had no choice but to ask for help from somebody around us, so I raised my voice. Excuse me, can anyone help? Sorry, anyone? There were supermarkets and convenience stores nearby, but directly next to the sidewalk was a street with heavy traffic, so I was drowned out by the noise from cars.
This old lady is trying to yell something.
Old lady, just get lost already. You're annoying me.
The guy spat at me, and as if to push me out of the way, he kicked me in the stomach. When I heard his footsteps coming towards me, I had a feeling I might get hit, so I immediately tried to cover my stomach. But the boy kicked me so hard that without any vision, it was hard to keep my balance, and I fell back and hit the ground hard.
Huh? Oh, jeez, she peed herself.
No way! That's hilarious!
When I heard the girl say that, and she was laughing, I immediately realized that my water had broken. I tried to call out for help, but I could feel my consciousness fading, and I couldn't get a word out, and I passed out on the spot on the street. The two of them got on their bicycle as though nothing had happened and rode off from the scene. It didn't take long for somebody to find me, and I was carried off in an ambulance and gave birth on the way to the hospital. Luckily, there was enough fluid left to protect the baby, and I was safely able to deliver a healthy baby boy. My baby. Thank goodness, thank goodness!
I'm so sorry, Heather. If I had just gone with you, none of this would have happened.
We were able to identify the two high school students thanks to the security cameras on the nearby supermarkets and convenience stores, and we quickly found out their school. They were taken in by the police for questioning about the incident. Then one day, a few days after I had given birth, those two high school students and someone named Hirayama, their hometown teacher, arrived at my hospital room. It turns out that after I gave birth, Stephen had contacted the school in a rage, and they came here to apologize.
There are not enough words to apologize for what our students have done. May I ask, how are you feeling now?
The baby came 2 weeks earlier than expected, but he and I are both healthy.
Ah, well, that's great to hear. Because, if this had resulted in, if the baby didn't make it, then the future of these students would have been destroyed.
Excuse me? Future of these students? You're more worried about your students who nearly killed me and my baby? Those two are seniors at a public high school in a town nearby. They had already secured jobs, so they had started skipping school. That day as well, the two of them were bored and had gotten on their bicycles to mess around in downtown.
At our school, we take pride in how many students are able to find jobs immediately upon graduating. And it's very important for us to maintain the trust of those companies that work with us. We are so relieved that this incident didn't turn into anything more serious.
Wait a second, just because my baby was born safely, are you trying to make it as though those kids didn't do anything?
Not that they didn't do anything, but since the both of them are about to start their careers, how about we settle this peacefully in a settlement? They have expressed their regret over what happened.
Settle? Regret? Those two over there don't even look like they intend to apologize to me at all, though. From the moment those two walked into my hospital room, there wasn't an ounce of regret on their face. Perhaps it's because they found out that my son was born safely, but those two seemed completely uninterested in the situation. Before an apology, those two don't look like they regret anything at all, so I will not be letting this go. I will be filing a police report and suing them for all the medical expenses as well as additional damages that they have caused.
Yeah, fine. Why don't you do whatever you want? I'm sure it's pointless anyway.
What do you mean, pointless?
Because, did you know that my dad is a policeman? You should know that by saying that against the son of a policeman is useless. So no matter what you say, there's no point. Nice try.
The boy tried to leave. My mother stomped into the room and raised her voice. Forgive me for eavesdropping, but can you explain a little bit more? Your father is a policeman, so what happens then? Please do tell me.
Huh? Are you stupid? Obviously, it's going to get brushed under the rug. Who are you anyway?
I'm her mother, and I also just happen to work at a law firm.
Lawyer?
My mother was in fact a lawyer, and she had won countless cases in both civil court and criminal court. She just so happened to be coming to check on me when she heard the entire conversation. But she couldn't stand the lack of responsibility from the students and decided to join the conversation. I think it's incredibly noble as a teacher to protect your students. However, trying to steal the future of your young child, don't you think that's due to the exact same thing?
But everything was fine in the end.
Ugh, this is so annoying. I've had enough of this lecturing.
You two should also stop acting so childishly.
Childish?
If you think you can brush this under the rug, then go ahead. You're not children anymore, you are adults. So you need to take the responsibility for what you have done. The three of them had nothing to say in response to my mother's stern words, and they stormed out of my hospital room. I had my mother file a police report for me, and the 2 high school students were once again taken in by the police for questioning. They must have finally realized the gravity of the situation and thought that things weren't going well for them, so they tried to upload a video on social media to claim their innocence. Somebody who saw the video must have been displeased with it, because of the surveillance camera footage from the supermarket was leaked online. Thanks to that, the rest of the world could see how little regret they had, and they were based online and around the town. The higher school was bombarded with complaints, and as for their teacher Hirayama, my mother spoke to the chief of education about the entire situation, and he was promptly fired. The 2 students were expelled from high school, and of course their job offers were taken back as well. Their addresses were exposed on social media, and the houses had liar painted across it, or trash thrown in and all around the house, and they're now unable to leave their homes. As for me, I was discouraged from leaving the hospital without any problems, and I am relieved that my son is also growing without showing any signs of trauma.
That day, my husband, our 1-year-old son, and I went to visit the graves of my parents-in-law. That's when my husband did something outrageous. The graveyard was located atop a hill, so I parked the car and we hiked up the hill. When we finally arrived at the peak, my husband realized that he forgot to bring his lighter. He had our son in his arms, so I told him to wait there while I go to get his lighter. Then I run to the car and grab the lighter. When I returned to the gravesite, a shocking scene awaited me. Our son was sitting on top of the tombstone, the highest part of this place. What's even more frightening was that he was not supported by anything at all.
What is he doing? Seriously, what in the world are you thinking? What if our son falls to the ground?
My husband was nowhere to be seen. First of all, our son is only a year old and couldn't balance himself yet. Since babies have big heads, they're heavier almost than their entire body. They have more difficulty keeping that position up there. Who in their right mind would place a child up there? Is he out of his mind? My husband sure needs to get a scolding after this. But I couldn't find my husband anywhere. Where in the world did he go after leaving our son in a dangerous position? Not understanding the seriousness of the situation, our son was clapping his hands and smiling in my arms. I can't believe my husband would do such a careless thing. But I'm glad that our son is fine, so he came out unscathed. Feeling relieved after seeing my son all right, my husband came walking back. When he arrived, something utterly shocking came to his lips.
What? What do you mean by why? What were you trying to do? Are you serious or are you just playing crazy? What were you thinking putting a 1-year-old on top of a gravestone to sit? What if he fell and had a serious injury? Are you going to take responsibility for him?
But he didn't fall, right? What are you getting all worked up about?
I was furious at my husband for not apologizing at all. He didn't even think that what he did was a very dangerous act for our son. I attacked my husband right then and there. After that, just when I calmed down a bit, I asked him why he placed our son up there. An even more shocking answer came to his lips.
I just thought of taking pictures of Kota from that small elevation of bushes over there. Because the view is wonderful and, the weather's great.
You've got to be kidding me. It just looks dangerous to me. I couldn't take his questionable actions and reasoning anymore, so I brought our son to the car and put on the seatbelt. And I left my husband to ponder on his actions. After that, he came home using the train and a taxi, but he never admitted to his actions being wrong. He instead complained about me leaving him in the graveyard. How about you reflect on what you've done instead of complaining about what was done to you? If I hadn't seen Kota before it was too late, he would have fell and got injured. Or worse, he could have fallen into his death. What's more is that you were standing several meters away from him. It would have been fine if you were right there by his side, but you were not. What if he got off balance? You wouldn't have been able to help him.
I told you, I was trying to take a commemorative photo of our son.
Who in their right mind would take a commemorative photo of their children at a graveyard? What kind of idiot would do such a thing? Have you seen anyone who took pictures of their child, who just turned a year-old sitting on top of a gravestone? Don't you think it's rude to your parents to do such a thing to their gravestone?
I don't talk about graveside stories of the people around me. Besides, when I was a baby, my parents did the same thing to me. They placed me on top of a gravestone and took photos of me.
Those words shook me to my core and I was lost for words. Speechless, I stood there with my jaw literally dropped for a few seconds. According to my husband, when he was a baby, his parents placed him on top of a gravestone and took pictures of him. That sort of makes sense. If his parents who raised him don't have any common sense, then it kind of makes sense why he turned out this way. But still, this extremely unpleasant act of taking a commemorative photo at the graveyard, it astonished me and got me thinking twice about the man I married. Then the next day, my husband brought several photos of him as a baby atop the gravestone. And with a self-satisfied look on his face, he said,
See, look at all these pictures. My father used to do this to me as well. Just what I told you. I win.
He said it was some sort of competition. The more I knew about my husband and his family, the more I questioned my taste in men. Your family is the only family who does such a reckless and dangerous act. When I told him that, he started to get angry. However, that wasn't the end of the series of questionable behavior and words from my husband. The next string of words blew up my entire mind, questioning his entire existence.
My father sat me on the gravestone when I was a baby and didn't fall for 15 minutes. Because of that, I was recognized as a vigorous baby boy with a strong vitality. If, for example, Kota fell from the gravestone, it would mean that he didn't inherit his grandfather's strong spirit, right? If that happens, all we need to do is make another child, right? It's that simple, no need to complicate it.
It's that simple? Sometimes I wonder how you were able to function with that stupid brain of yours. You simpering simpleton. What do you think about the life of your child? His life is not something that can be replaced, you know. Also, you said earlier that you placed Kota there to take commemorative pictures of him, but that was what you were trying to do from the start, right?
Actually, that is, It really is true that I was trying to take commemorative pictures. Listen, we can look back on it as a fond memory,
Babies are not toys, you know. You've got to be kidding me. Get a hold of yourself.
Filled with rage, I shouted at my husband and took our son with me out of the house. My parents were surprised that I came home on such short notice. But when I explained to them the very unusual and unforgivable happening, my father was also filled with anger and said,
There's no need to get back to that crazy husband of yours. I will never allow him to hold my grandson.
Then I immediately called my husband and told him that I wanted to get a divorce. We then set up a face-to-face meeting and talked about it like we should, but I didn't know when he would use abusive language again. So I brought a voice recorder with me to secretly record him during our meeting. Then, as expected, he started spitting out words abusively as soon as he took a seat.
Thinking? Assaulting me and discarding the responsibilities?
Assaulting you? That was me just trying to defend our helpless son. He couldn't slap you, so I did it on his behalf. It's just right for me to do that, considering what you've done to him to put his life in danger. Besides, I'm not a housekeeper. Despite all that, you still don't understand the severity of what you've done to our son. You tried to bring your son to his death, you know. Are you even aware of that?
As a result, he wasn't wounded nor lost his life, so it's fine, right? There's no need to make a fuss about it. When are you going to stop talking about this thing that happened in the past? You're not a child anymore, so stop mumbling and complaining.
The reason why Kota didn't fall and get injured was only because I noticed him in time.
Shut up! He is just a child. We can make another one if we lose him. You're still young, so you can create as many as you can. Come on. I'll help you create another one so we can get a better one in one go.
Not able to think straight, I got even more furious.
Go away! Leave this house this instant! I'm gonna go insane if I continue talking to you like this.
Then hearing those words come out of my lips, he said,
All right. Let's get divorced. I don't need a son who can't stand the test of the gravestone anyway. You're too weak a person to reject my goodwill, to create another child with you. I don't need you anymore anyway.
Just like that, I was able to get divorced from him, but after the divorce, our friends, neighbors, and acquaintances, all the people around me started looking at me with cold eyes. One reason was that my husband actually ticked off all of the boxes of an ideal man in the eyes of society. Because of that same reason, the women around me got jealous when I married him. That's also why my husband's reputation was always good. This so-called ideal husband spread false rumors that the reason for our divorce was because I abandoned housework and childcare and played around instead. That I didn't fulfill my duty as a mother. One of his relatives told me, so I made them listen to the recorded voice of Noiro and showed the pictures that he took of our son sitting on top of the gravestone.
The reason why Norio and I got divorced is because of this picture. That single picture spoke 1,000 words. I then turned on the recorded voice and they couldn't believe what they were hearing. Do you still think that your relative is a person with common sense after hearing this? Would you still say that Norio is right? They were speechless and turned red with embarrassment. If you still think that what he did is right, then why don't you do the same thing to your child? It's a very dangerous act. Your child might fall to his death, though. If your child fails the test and falls to his death, would you be able to robotically tell your wife to create another baby with you? After telling that to their face, they went pale and went home defeated. When I explained the truth to everyone else who believed the false rumors about me, they all drew me away from my husband. I was seen as the villain when we just had our divorce, but after explaining the truth and clearing out the misunderstanding, they all started taking my side. My ex-husband was called an ideal man by society because he graduated from a famous top university and worked at a large company for elites. But when news spread that we got divorced, his co-workers and the people around him became curious about the reason why. The truth spread like lightning, and not long after, everyone knew that he got divorced because of the graveyard incident and his abusive language towards me. Haven't you heard? Rumors say that he tried his 1-year-old son and put him on top of a gravestone.
Huh? A trial? What kind of trial?
Something he inherited from his parents. He's like a psychopath for doing something dangerous like that to a baby. What in the world was he thinking? I can't imagine what would have happened if the child fell. I heard he told his wife that they'll just make another baby, you know?
Unbelievable. Does he think a baby's a robot or something? He's the worst kind of father there is. I pity the child.
When the rumors spread like that, people started avoiding him until no one wanted to have him around. A few months later, he got severely depressed and ended up quitting his job. Then I filed to the lawyer with the voice recording as evidence. Because of that, I was able to demand and receive alimony from my ex-husband. Thinking back to that time when all this happened, I knew that I made the right decision to get divorced. That time when I came back from the car to get the lighter and saw my son sitting on top of the gravestone, I really thought that my heart would stop. If my son fell that day from the high place, I honestly can't imagine what I would have done to my husband. I think that my husband might still have had a more dangerous side to him. I really think that it was the right decision to let him go. Well, I don't plan to allow him to meet my son ever again, though.
How was today's video? If you enjoyed it, please subscribe, like, and leave a comment. Stay tuned for more.